Hey folks, in today's lesson we're just going to be finishing off talking about parallel and perpendicular lines. We're going to be talking about what their slopes are and using those slopes and using a point to make ourselves an equation. So thinking back to a few days ago. So we'll be working on the back side of the sheet that we were doing yesterday, 8.6, parallel and perpendicular lines. Just as a quick recap, parallel lines means that the two lines have the exact same slope. In this case they're both 3. Perpendicular lines just mean that if I have the slope of one and the slope of another, they're negative reciprocals of one another. So if I flip it, one's positive, one's negative, or one's negative and the other is positive. So using these two ideas together, write the equation of a line that passes through A, which is 0, 5, and it has a slope that's parallel to the line y equals 3x plus 9. So here we're given two pieces of information. We know that the line that we want goes through the point 0, 5, and we know that there's another line out there, which is y equals 3x plus 9. It's not our line, but we know that that line is parallel to the one that we want. So the first thing that we should do is, remember when we're writing equations of lines, we need two pieces of info. We need the slope of that line, and we need a point that's on our line. So we know that the point 0, 5 is on the line that we want. So that means the x value of that point is 0, and the y value of that point is 5. So x1 equals 0, y1 equals 5. Now there's another line out there that's parallel to the one that we want. And we have our equation in y equals mx plus b form. So we have slope and y-intercept form. And the slope of this line right here is 3. I have y by itself over 3, y equals mx plus b form. My slope is 3. So that tells me that there's some other line out there that has a slope of 3 that's parallel to the line that we want. Now parallel lines have the same slope, so that tells me that the slope of the line that we're going to be writing is also equal to 3. Once we have all of this information, we're going to go to our point slope form and plug it in, just like we did a few days ago. So y minus y1 is 5 equals m, which is 3, x minus x1, which is 0. So I have y minus 5 equals 3 times, well, x minus 0 is just plain x. And we have y minus 5 is equal to 3x. And that's as far as I can go with my point slope form. Just plugging the numbers in, simplifying it as much as we can. Once we have point slope form, it's pretty easy to get ourselves slope and y-intercept form. First step that we want to do is just rewrite what we have down here. So y minus 5 is equal to 3x. Remember, if at any time I'm going too fast, or if at any time you need to go back and review any of the material, feel free to just pause the YouTube clip, back up, and then catch up to where we are once again. So we have y minus 5 is equal to 3x. Slope and y-intercept form means I want to keep y by itself on the left side, and we want to move everything else over to the right side. So currently on the left side with my y, I have a minus 5. So I want to get rid of this minus 5, and to do that, I'm going to be adding 5 to both sides. So I'm going to have y is equal to 3x plus 5. In other words, I'm taking this negative 5, moving it over the equal sign, and it becomes plus 5. And now we have something in slope and y-intercept form. Y is by itself, 1's in front of y, everything else is on the right-hand side. As our last step, we'll do this in blue. We want to put this into standard form. First step is just rewrite the equation, 3x plus 5. Second step for standard form, move everything to the left-hand side. So y minus 3x minus 5 equals 0. Remember, when I take a term and move it to the other side of the equal sign, it becomes, the sign changes. So plus becomes minus, plus becomes minus. Next up, I want to make sure that my x comes before my y. So negative 3x plus y minus 5 equals 0. My next step, remember in standard form, we cannot have a negative sign as our first term. So to get rid of that negative sign, I'm going to multiply every single term here by negative 1. So times negative 1, times negative 1, times negative 1. And when I do that, we get 3x minus y plus 5 equals 0. In other words, multiplying by negative 1 changes every single sign. So this negative becomes plus, this plus becomes minus, this minus becomes plus, and 0 just stays as 0. So 3x minus y plus 5 is equal to 0. Now what's really important here is recognizing that all three of these final answers represent the exact same line. They just look like they're in a different form. But if I were to graph this, if I were to graph this, and if I were to graph this, I would have the exact same line. Something that's really good to check with your slope and y-intercept form is just taking a look at my slope here, which is 3, and comparing it to the slope that I should have down here, which is also 3. So since they're both 3, I know that we're right. There's example 1.